Hello and welcome to Theatre.Reviews with Paul Seven. I'm here at the Gillian Lynn Theatre to see Standing at the Sky's Edge. Standing at the Sky's Edge, with songs by Richard Hawley and a script by Chris Bush, follows the story of a high-rise flat in Sheffield through the eyes of three families over 60 years. But is it of interest to those of us not from the former steel manufacturing town? And does the story of a high-rise flat get off the ground? Well, keep watching and I'll tell you why not only is the answer an emphatic yes, but why it's one of the best musicals in the West End. But first, please like, comment and subscribe to this channel. Thank you. With a book written by Chris Bush and the music by Richard Hawley, both born in Sheffield, and direction by Robert Hastie, who's the artistic director of the city's Crucible Theatre, where it began life, Standing at the Sky's Edge is made in Sheffield, just as much as the steel for which the city was famous. Yet it has a universal appeal, as shown by its transfer first to the National Theatre and now to the West End. Starting in 1961 and spanning nearly 60 years, the musical tells the story of three families who at separate times live in a high-rise flat in the huge Sheffield housing estate called Park Hill. Their narratives later intersect, but initially it seems like a portrait of three discrete times, recounting a history of modern Britain. There's the socialist optimism following the Second World War, the decimation of industrial Britain and the destruction of working class communities during the Thatcher years. And Act 1 concludes with a shocking riot to the tune of There's a Storm a-Coming. And then today's liberal-minded but materialistic services economy. I assume Chris Bush leans to the left, but she wears her socialism lightly. The families all have their histories, their tragedies, and most of all their love stories. A neon sign says, "I love you, will you marry me?" Replicating the real sign on the flats, which was itself based on a famous piece of graffiti. The main interest is in characters who try to make the best of their situations, even if some do fall through the cracks. Chris Bush's dialogue flows as smoothly as the River Sheaf. The musical begins with a traditional British working-class young couple moving in, thrilled to have all mod cons. Rachael Wooding as Rose is excellent as she goes from excited young wife to strong partner when her husband loses his job following the steelwork closures of the 80s, and finally to a weary acceptance that life doesn't always work out as expected, exemplified in her heartbreaking rendition of After the Rain. Her husband Harry, played by Harper-Jackson, makes a journey too, starting as a confident provider, then falling apart as so many proud working class men did without a job to give meaning to their lives. Next, as the estate becomes run down, we see the arrival of immigrant refugees. Joy has been brought by her aunt and uncle from Liberia to the safety of Sheffield. Played by Elizabeth Ayodele, she undergoes a transformation from clashing with her aunt's values from the old country as she integrates with the culture of her new home, including a change in accent. And finally we meet Poppy, the one with whom we probably would feel the most in common. She's a marketeer from London who's headed north to get over a broken relationship. She has the least dramatic story, mainly playing on jokes about today's middle-class lifestyle, but it's hard not to be touched by Laura Pitt-Pulford as she conveys Poppy's desire to be part of a community. Lauryn Redding, as her desperate ex, belts out a rousing version of Open Up Your Door. Chris Bush's witty, angry and moving script finds parallels in the different eras so that all three families eventually appear on stage at the same time, their conversations overlapping. It's a real sense of how a building retains its history, and a way to see how much ostensibly different people have in common. It reminded me of some of Alan Ayckbourn's experiments in presenting more than one narrative simultaneously on stage. The disadvantage of this fragmented approach is that it's harder to become involved with individual stories. The selection of Richard Hawley's poetic songs creates an impressive soundtrack for a rock musical, and there's plenty of variation in style. The many excellent songs, angry, poignant or passionate, augment what's going on stage and are wonderfully performed. But inevitably they do seem too often as if they've been tacked onto the story rather than integral to it, like the blistering, bluesy version of the title number that opens Act 2. Robert Hastie moves these various stories deftly around the set and at times has the whole cast of over 30 players interweaving on stage. Lynn Page's clever choreography was at its best when she had the cast moving in a rhythmical walking motion and in swaying embraces, uniting different times, generations and classes. Ben Stone's set is magnificent, filling the stage with a 3-storey section of the building with features of a Park Hill high-rise. The main action takes on a basic but sufficient representation of a flat, while the upper 2 floors are occupied by a large band. The flat apparently offers a glorious view of Sheffield, but for us, it's down to earth. Standing at the Sky's Edge is an excellent musical that not only has much to say, but says it from the heart. It deserves a long life in the West End, and I give it 4 stars. I hope you enjoyed this review, or at least found it interesting, and if you did, please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel, then you'll be the first to know about my future reviews. If you want to read my reviews and my roundups of other critics' reviews, then please visit Theatre.Reviews. You can also follow me on the usual social media. Thank you for watching.